In the following set of tutorials, we're going to take a look at using functions in ActionScript 3. Go ahead and open up the Flash CS4 functions start file and make sure that anytime that you put actions, you put them on the actions layer. That's the only thing that you'll, I think, be changing on this, except for some instance names of a couple objects later on in the tutorials. Anyway, to begin with, let's talk about functions. Functions are small blocks of code that you can reuse by instantiating them with different types of events. Now, instantiating a function means when you run that function from a frame event, a button event, or any other type of event. You can have data events where data has finished loading, or media events such as a sound playing or stopping, and there's a lot of different types of ways of using events. Now, one of the nice things, of course, about ActionScript 3 is that the event model is consistent across all different types of events. So when we create the functions here, it will pretty much work for any type of event. We just need to be specific about the type of event, and that I'll talk about in just a second. Now, when you create variables, it's very important that you give them a name that indicates what that function does. That way it's easy to identify it as a function and understand how it's being used. Some sample functions that I have here are function go website and then the colon void. The very first word function indicates that we're creating a function. That's a keyword. Then we have a variable for the name of the function that we're creating, go website in this case. And notice that I'm using camel case, but I'm also starting with a word such as go. And the other one I'm doing get, add, or make. These are kind of action type words that let me know what that button or what that function is doing. The next thing we have after the name of the function is the parentheses. Inside these parentheses, we will have variables often, and those are variables that are only accessible inside that function. Those are temporary variables. And you may notice that sometimes we don't have variables when we have very simple functions, but often we have variables that include the type of event that we are passing to that function. So you may see this a couple different ways. Event by itself, or e:\mouse event, where we're specifying a name, a very simple name in this case, e, and then the type of event that that variable is being created from, or that function is running from. And then here's another one, evt:\frame event. So that's saying that we're having a frame event, such as enter frame, that is making that function run. The next part here is the colon void. You may see that a couple of them I left the void off, and that's because I was running out of room mostly. But you don't always need the void. It's there to indicate that that function does not pass any data back to anything else when it finishes the function. It just runs the function and then it's done. So let's begin by creating a very simple function. We're going to do a trace function. Just trace as an output into our output window. And let's begin by going to the actions layer, opening up our actions panel, and it's a good idea to pin our script here so we make sure that we don't go anywhere else. And let's create our very first function. So I'm going to go down to first one couple lines and put trace function as a little comment there. So let's begin by creating our function. So we put in the keyword function and then what we would like to call our function. Now I'm going to put in a parenthesis, colon, void, and I didn't put any argument in here, and we might change that in the next tutorial. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my curly brackets in order to reserve that space for my events in here, or for my actions inside here. And we're going to trace an output, which is just hello world. Very simple. Now, in order to instantiate this function, I just put the name of the function, finish with my parentheses, and then I'm done. Let's go ahead and test with this with test movie, control test movie, and you'll see it does output. Save your file, and we'll go on to the next tutorial.